All right, so we just watched The Deep House, which is the newest film from the directors that are mostly known for the movie Inside, and I feel like everyone has kind of held them to that standard ever since. But they also made Amongst the Living, Livid, which I'm actually a big fan of, and I prefer to Inside. They made Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre prequel. They made Candisha, which is on Shudder currently, and I think we're going to watch next if we have the next, just keep with the theme here. And they did a ABCs of Death segment as well, so they've definitely done a lot of horror at this point. And this movie, before we get started, look at these. I got these pop figures today. John Nada, and a little alien from They Live, both of those, and then I got Ash from Evil Dead. Anyway,
Walmart.
$8.78, something like that. Anyways, so The Deep House is about this couple, and they are
They're urban explorers.
Yeah.
So they go to abandoned places, really.
Right.
To get cool shots for their YouTube channel.
Yeah, they want to become popular YouTubers.
That's definitely their focus. And
he's pushing it way more than she is. She seems to be there more for him.
Yeah.
And, he's definitely, pushing her limits for sure. And he comes up with this idea to visit this underwater town that's at the bottom of this lake. And they go out there and they tell them it was basically kind of like a tourist trap, that there really isn't a city under there anymore, that it's all kind of just been washed away at this point. And so they kind of get bummed out, and then he meets this random guy, which is always a good idea. Just meet some random guy that says he's going to drive you into the middle of nowhere. But he is going to take them to this super secret location, which is super sus.
Super sus, bro.
And that there is this one house that's still completely intact underneath the water. And so he takes them out there. They dive down with all of their elaborate, amazingly fucking expensive gear that they have, including even an underwater camera drone that he can operate with his freaking arm wrist. It's wild.
Yes.
The stuff there is just like, holy shit, man. You're trying to make money on YouTube. How much money did you invest in this?
Yeah.
So I don't know what these guys were up to before they had a YouTube channel, but they had some money. Anyway, so they put on their diving gear. And they dive down to the Deep House. And, essentially what this is 47 meters down meets insert haunted house movie, right? So it's okay, first off the bat, the concept of the movie just rules, right? It's fucking phenomenal. But the logistics of doing it is so complicated that most people aren't even going to attempt it because, horror doesn't usually get a big budget and you need a fairly bigger budget to pull something off like this. Yeah. But I thought that they did remarkably well.
I did too.
The house in this is so fucking cool. I was so into every room. I was so into the exploration of everything that I almost, I'm not saying I didn't like what I saw here, because I absolutely did with the rest of it. But it was like, I didn't even need the haunted house aspect of it. I could have just watched them fucking go around that house for an hour. Yeah. And then the movie, they would have came up and the movie would have ended and I'd be like, it was so cool. Yeah. But it wouldn't have been a horror movie at that point. But it would have still been a really cool exploration. And it's absolutely 1,000,000% something I would watch on YouTube. And would have millions of views. So they definitely were going to be successful, right? With this.
There's a lot of detail in the rooms. I really enjoyed the exploration aspect as well. And there's a lot of it's cool because the haunted house aspect plays in really well, where you're like, why is that doing that? Why isn't it doing this instead? And was creepy. It was like genuinely really creepy. Especially I feel like I'm not really afraid of being underwater, but I think that it definitely ups the level of like you're in danger, not only from like fucking ghost demons, but also from drowning.
Absolutely.
So
the clock
cool.
is ticking,
Yes.
and we basically have a good gauge of how much time they have to live, right? Because they have an oxygen tank meter that reads how many percent, and that gives us kind of a ticking time clock, almost like a building that's about to explode. And you have that tension because going into it when they're looking at their wrists, at their oxygen gauges, you're like, oh, that's going to become a really big factor in this, and she's a little more scared, so she's burning oxygen a little quicker, and so that ups the ante for her as well. And I just thought the sets here, because I can only assume that this was filmed on a soundstage where they built individual rooms and even exteriors and then completely put them under, submerged them underwater, which is fucking unbelievable.
Yes.
Like, just as I said earlier, the logistics of pulling off a movie on this scale, it really is, I think, it actually kind of upsets me a little bit that I feel like this movie is getting no attention at all. I'm not hearing a single person talking about it. I haven't seen a single advertisement. And it comes out on VOD in like a few days. And it's just wild to me. Blumhouse picked up the rights to this, and I'm not sure they're doing anything with it. And that is a shame, because I thought that this was an insanely effective haunted house movie, but also a like underwater adventure thriller movie as well. And I did like the characters, and I did like everything that was going on within it, and kind of the setup in the beginning and the payoff in the end for it. And I thought it was a really well-rounded movie. I was more enamored and kind of caught up in just the whole idea of filming half of this movie underwater inside a house that is not just some, because you'll find out in the movie that the house isn't like a house underwater.
Right.
For 20, 30 years, or however fucking long it's been.
Yeah.
This house looks a little different than that.
Yes.
And in order to pull that off, that's extra added budget.
Yes.
And I was really impressed with how this film was done. That being said, I kind of figured going into this, when I knew what it was about and knew that we were going to spend some time underwater inside this house, I had a feeling that things were going to be a little murky, that things were going to be kind of indistinguishable at times, where I was like, what am I looking at? And that, now granted, our internet wasn't amazing during this, and our the clarity wasn't all there, so I would like to see a Blu-ray, but there's definitely some moments in this where you don't really see what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's really because this is really like a found footage hybrid.
Yeah.
Where like maybe 30% of the film is in their cameras.
Which is another really cool aspect of it, because when it started, we were like, is this all found footage? Like, whoa.
Yeah, for the first 5 minutes, I thought for sure it was going to be found footage. That actually kind of made me nervous, though.
Well,
because I don't know if I would have wanted, I don't think I would have wanted to see this. With as elaborate as the sets were and everything, doing found footage just would hold this film back from showing kind of the spectacle on display.
Yeah, I agree. I think the hybrid version of it works really well.
Yeah.
But more than half of the movie is underwater.
You think so? I'd say half point.
I think it's more than half. I feel like there's maybe only 10 or 15 minutes in the beginning where they're not underwater.
No, it's no way it's that low. I'll say 30 minutes, and then because the movie I think is an hour and 25 minutes long, and 5 of that is credits. So we'll say the film is 75, 80 minutes long, somewhere in that area of actual screen time.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not going to go as short as 15 minutes.
It felt like such a small amount of the movie to me because
it is a small amount, for sure. I mean,
Yes.
you are definitely spending a good majority of time in the house. I
Yeah.
just don't think it's down in the 10-minute area. You know, but it doesn't matter. But yes, what you're there for is a good majority of this film, for sure. But yeah, I'm really into this.
Me too.
And the fact that it
super
has
cool.
like a 5.6 on IMDb is
so-
just outrageous
Yeah.
to me. This is in the sixes at least. Come on, people. You know?
I agree.
What I mean by that is like the general consensus. This is a kind of film to me that should be in the mid sixes, which is really good for horror. Horror almost never gets past like a low 7. Like that's like top tier Hereditary shit. Is if you go on IMDb, look up Hereditary or Midsommar or any of those movies, and they're like 7.1, 7.2, somewhere in there. You just almost never get, unless it's like classics like Halloween, which is like a 7.8. But that's like movies that are 30, 40 years old at this point and have this really established classic status to it. But like modern day horror, man, you never can get a film up past like 7.1, 7.2 in the horror genre. It's just not, this doesn't happen. Anyway.
What you were saying about the murkiness, though, I didn't feel like it was too much. I think that
No.
it worked.
No.
You know, there's
You
just
mostly
a
can
couple,
see.
a couple moments where it was really hard to tell, but I think all of the major points that you can see pretty easily. So, and it does add to the creep factor in a way because, you know, it's sort of true to what they would be seeing down there, I think. So.
I think I meant the word indecipherable versus indistinguishable, because indistinguishable is not being able to tell one thing from the other.
Indecipherable, yeah.
And indecipherable is not being
what
able
is
to
that?
tell what the fuck something actually is. So indecipherable, there we go.
Yeah, I think those moments are pretty small, though, in the
Yeah.
movie in general, so it was really awesome. It was surprisingly, like, I don't know, I didn't have any expectations for it. at
No,
all,
you
so.
didn't. I had some, because I do like the director's work. I'm not a big fan of Leatherface. Among the Living's cool. I really like Live It a lot. I'm a big fan of it. And Inside I only saw once. I know it's fucking beloved by a lot of people. It's like, you know, one of the most beloved horror films of the last decade or more. I'll need to watch it again. I remember seeing it back in the day, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's so hardcore and this and that." I think it set my expectations in a different place than they needed to be. So I'll watch it again. It's a cool film for sure. I just was super into Live It. I thought Live It had this amazing cinematography, and I just felt it was really spooky, and I really like that film a lot. I'll show it to her soon. I have it on Blu-ray, so. But yeah, anyways, if you think that sounds cool, I don't think you're going to be disappointed here. Like if you're into haunted house movies and you want to kind of change that flavor up and you're like, well, I want kind of a different spin on a haunted house movie. How about we fucking just pour like 1 billion gallons of water on top of it and then, you know, really escalate the tension of like these people getting out of the house in a very quick manner, because they're going to fucking die either from the ghosts inside or the lack of oxygen. And you don't. The outside and the inside of the house is super impressive.
Yes.
Like we visit probably 6 rooms, 7 rooms in this place, and each one of them looks pretty fucking like, you know, elaborate.
Yes.
Like I was like, wow, these are serious
Lots of
sets.
detail. Yeah.
And the fact that they just submerged this thing, because there's no way that they found some house underwater and filmed
no,
it. Like,
no.
they
This is
built
built
this,
and then just-
I don't know. That kind of stuff blows my mind that they can do that on a soundstage.
Yeah.
But fuck, man, they spent a lot of money on this, and I hope it gets some attention.
It deserves it.
What I want to, though, and this is pretty rare for me, I desperately want to watch a behind the scenes making of this film.
Yeah, to see how they did it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
This is one that I'm really gung ho on. I was looking on Wikipedia and all these things, looking for any behind the scenes snippets, just to know how or what it was, how they did it, budget, any of that stuff. I can't find fuck all about it. So I hope that this gets a Blu-ray release soon, and that it comes with a making of. Like, I'd watch an hour-long making of. I'd watch it a longer. Fucking Rob Zombie made a 4.5-hour making of his first Halloween on the Blu-ray. So if they can talk about Halloween for 4.5 hours, they can talk about this movie for at least an hour. Yeah. So
Yes.
I really, really, really want to watch something behind the scenes on this.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be really, really cool to see. I agree.
This needs more attention
For sure.
and a higher rating. Get the fuck out of here with 5.6. That's craziness to me.
So low.
People are nuts. So,
They're super critical.
anyways, we're gonna go watch their other film that's new and currently on Shudder, and we'll report back in about an hour and a half. Bye.